This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by Ocean City Department of Tourism.
As you heard before the break, hundreds of thousands of people flock to Ocean City's Sunfest, and whether it's just to peruse what's under the tents or to shop until you drop, this festival has something for everyone, including authentic deck boards. Berlin artist Chris Maxa says his creation started by accident after he was able to get his hands on a few wooden pieces. Today, he's taken nearly 100 pictures of iconic Ocean City spots and featured them on boards salvaged from a 2012 Boardwalk renovation.
The town of Ocean City was renovating the boardwalk a couple of years ago. The discarded decking boards were just going to be thrown away or taken to the dump. Some of the pieces are a little newer. Some of them are really beat up and rustic, and some have old screws or nails or thrash or grease on them.
Appropriately named Boardwalk, you'll find Chris's works of art under Tent 3. Speaking of the boardwalk, I can't imagine a visit to Ocean City without taking some steps on the iconic boards.
This walk, it just says Ocean City.
It's hard to believe this several-mile-long boardwalk began in 1892 as just a few pieces of wood laid across the sand. And it has met its share of challenges. In 1925, there was a massive fire, and 8 years later, it was battered by a major storm. But no matter what's been thrown its way, people continue to see its value through expansion.
Over the years, it expanded as the town expanded. It went up to 9th Street for a while, about that area. And then when the Commander Hotel was built in 1930 on 14th Street, the boardwalk didn't even go that far. So later on it expanded to 15th Street, and then I would say by about 1960s it made it all the way to 27th Street.
In 1991, the town built a massive seawall to protect the boardwalk from storms. Today, there are 2.5 miles of shops, restaurants, and hotels. You'll also find a few items that'll have you stopping in your tracks to take a second look.
Like this work of art, Randy Hoffman has been creating sand sculptures here in Ocean City for more than 34 years. And while most of them are scenes from the Bible, Randy says you don't have to be religious to appreciate what he's doing.
It's classical sculpture, you know, figurative anatomy. I try to do a good job. And I put a long attention span in it, so it has kind of a kinetic energy. And you look at it and you go, wow, look at all that work. It's a presentation, I get it. You know, some people doing something.
Randy adds his biggest compliment on his work comes from when it provokes a conversation between parents and their children.
And Sean, it certainly is a conversation starter.
Yeah, it's amazing to see what Randy can create with just sand, but he says Ocean City sand is actually hard to work with because he says it's so pure. If you're not sure what he means, just feel for yourself. A little farther down the boardwalk, what started out as a project for an intern years ago has turned into a real conversation piece with the Sands from Around the World exhibit at the Ocean City's Life-Saving Station Museum. You can compare firsthand sands from places like Iceland, Russia, Australia, and many other exotic locations. But no matter how far the sand has traveled, museum curator Sandy Hurley says everyone's favorite seems to be from close to home.
The best sand, I think it's the location that's more important. I mean, I've traveled the world, all kinds of beaches, and seen a lot of sand, and Ocean City sand ranks right up there.
You can check out that exhibit at the Life-Saving Station Museum the rest of the month between 10 and 6.
Speaking of the Life-Saving Station Museum, if you visited Ocean City before and never stepped foot into this building, boy, you're missing out. Built in 1891, it was first used as a hub for a crew of 7 local lifesavers, whose job it would be to row out to sea for rescues. Then around 1915, the life-saving service became the U.S. Coast Guard, and this beautiful building became obsolete. But thanks to the people of Ocean City, they wouldn't let it be demolished. So here she stands today, preserving history. Sean?
Well, another stop on the Ocean City Boardwalk that evokes emotion and pride is the Ocean City Firefighters Memorial, and here to tell us a little bit more about that is Jay Jester, the president of the Ocean City Volunteer Fire Company. Jay, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So this memorial was officially dedicated on September 11th, 2006, but the idea for it started way before that. Give me a little bit about its history.
We've had a Firefighters Memorial account at the fire department for a number of years, where if we had a member that died, and in the obituary, a lot of times you'll see where it says, in lieu of flowers, you may make a donation to the fire department. It started out with that. And then after 9/11, we had a number of large donations come in, people that wanted to do something for the fire department itself. And then very soon thereafter had a couple of prominent people within the city as well as in the fire department pass on. So we had large donations coming in and got to the point where we thought that it was going to be feasible to go ahead and erect this memorial.
And you see a lot of people walking by and stopping and looking at it. That's got to make you feel good.
It's wonderful. It's I mean, we're right here underneath of the arch. This is one of probably the most photographed places in town. I'd have to say that the memorial is probably the second most photographed place in town.
So who is it memorializing?
It actually memorializes three groups of people. First and foremost, the 343 firefighters from the New York City Fire Department that died on 9/11. It memorializes them on one side of the granite base. On another side of the granite base, it memorializes Ocean City firefighters, past, present, and future. And then on the third side, it memorializes all firefighters worldwide, because that's exactly what it's there for. I don't do anything different than my colleagues do across the nation and across the world.
You have a very special piece here on this memorial. It's an actual piece of steel from the World Trade Centers. How did you get that?
We had sent numerous people up to the command centers at New York after 9/11 to help them get back on their feet and help them with the recovery efforts. We made a road trip up there, picked out that piece, and ceremoniously brought it back.
So what does that mean for you guys to have that piece of steel here in Ocean City?
It's wonderful. There's a few of them around. If you look nationwide, there's probably by now, I would say, maybe 3 dozen or 4 dozen memorials. At the time, this was probably the second or the third. So it was extremely prestigious at the time, but we're still very, very proud to have a piece of New York and such a terrible thing that we can hopefully turn into something that's a little bit soothing and a little bit better than the bad memory. We can make it a good memory.
Something you do here, and I think it's great, is you offer families an opportunity to buy a brick.
Yeah, it's a 4-inch by 8-inch paver, and you have 3 lines of 20 characters each on that line that you're allowed to. You can put anything on there that you want.
And you have some space open.
Yes, we sure do. We're actually under 1,000 now. We've got about 800 of them left.
Jay, thanks so much for stopping by and telling us all of that information. It's a great memorial, one you should stop by and check out for yourself. And if you want more information on how to buy one of those bricks, all you have to do is go to our website, wboc.com, and click on our picture at the top of the page. These stops along the boardwalk are just some of what makes Ocean City so special. Up next on Delmarva Life, we're jetting out some nearly 500 feet into the ocean to learn more about this iconic fishing pier.
Plus, we're revving up our engines and taking a spin on some of the rides that make a trip to this beach so memorable.
And while those rides are fun, they're also works of art. We see what it takes to keep them in tip-top shape and see how a communication method of the past is keeping the lines open in the present. Delmarva Life OC Sunfest 2015. We'll be right back.